what they're trying to do in Rivers is to get Rivers prepared in such a way that when they come back again, there will be no resistance. Like I said, I don't know what will happen to Fubara. I'm not his therapist, and I don't know whether he'll come back the way he left or not, but it's obvious that the way he folded up was too quick. Let me say this to you. When Wike was governor of Rivers State, nobody could have done this to him without consequences. He would have shut down the whole place. Nobody knew that. When Tinubu was governor of Lagos, he would never have accepted a state of emergency in Lagos. So why is it that they think they can get away with this? It's a question we should be asking, and why they must be resisted to ensure they don't get away with this, not a day longer than they have had it.
Okay.
So they don't read the mood of the public, apparently, but they will soon find out that this is not just one of the things that they can do and get away with.
Please, before we continue, if you're enjoying this video, I will encourage you to like and subscribe. It gives me the courage to create more interesting videos like this. Thank you.
Some of the people who were fighting for democracy in the 90s weren't actually fighting for democracy. They were fighting because they were jealous of what the military guys were doing, that they wish they were in that position. And now that they have gotten to the position that the military guys were in the 90s, you could tell what their interest was. It was to become as powerful as the military guys that they claimed they were fighting against. And if you look at their trajectory, their history, and the stories that came when they were in exile, you know they weren't fighting for democracy, they were doing business. The second aspect of it is the issue of opposition. The governors of states across the country are all united under the Tinubu regime. They support him even more than his own governors from his own political party. And the reason is simple. They are getting massive allocations that they've never gotten before, stealing and getting away with it. And they cannot wish for a better time than now. So it is the reason why people like me have also warned Nigerians that during this period, you are going to see people who say they are forming coalitions, not because they want to get rid of Tinubu, but because they want to replace Tinubu and his own people and this godfather, because they really envy them at this time and say, my goodness, we wish we were the ones in power. We can steal your money. We can do anything and nothing will happen. We can capture the state. That's where I mentioned to you that this is about state capture. And don't forget that part. I'm not here to argue that maybe somebody should have been matured enough. And at any rate, let's be very clear, the elite who are involved in this fight will eventually settle their difference. The impunity is too much and anger is building in the land. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I hope that they continue to act with impunity, disrespect, and they continue to trample and debase our people to the point that they're angry enough to say enough is enough. We are not going to accept this.
How soon can you see that happening?
I hope that
How soon can you see that? How soon can you see that happening?
Well, I don't have a calendar for you, but I will tell you something. Every ingredients that will make it happen, they are all in place. And the night of the Cuban Revolution, the elites were drinking champagne and saying Cuban people are foolish. The night of the French Revolution, the House of Bourbons were having weddings, they were having fun until they fell. 100 years later, they got back together and said they want to come back. The people of France said, no, this is never going to happen again. So I hope Nigerians continue to organize, continue to engage, discuss with themselves how to liberate themselves. Ultimately, and I'll keep saying it, a revolution is what will come and clean all of this up. I'm even surprised. I think that the elites are surprised that they have gone on for this long without that kind of uprising. I'm sure they sit down and say, what's wrong with these Nigerian people? Why haven't they come after us? And when they don't, they become emboldened. But in every society where ultimate revolutionary change has changed the conditioning of the mind of the oppressor, of the thieves, and those who don't let them make progress, what they are doing in Nigeria now is what they have always done. Godfathers are known for taking absolute control of the space whenever they are granted the opportunity to do so. But he's not just doing it as a godfather, he's abusing his position as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And what is interesting is that there is a conspiracy around this, all the arms of government at this point are being handled by three major godfathers. Number one is the FCT minister, who is now clearly before Nigerians in charge of the Nigerian judiciary. The Senate president, who also is clearly in charge of the legislative arm, and President Tinubu, who has brought in the executive. These three conspirators were both former governors, senators, and some of the people that I have described as having risen through the ranks of impunity and made it to the top. That's why Nigeria is in trouble with what they did. Don't forget, this same President Tinubu, when he was Lagos State Governor, promised the president of Nigeria then that if he declared a state of emergency in Lagos, that would be the end of democracy. He's president now, and he has done it, and he has done it with absolute power and daring the Nigerian people to challenge him or do anything about it. This is very unfortunate, but as you have seen, this might as well be the beginning of the downfall of more godfathers. Ultimately, and I'll keep saying it, a revolution is what will come and clean all of this up. I'm even surprised. I think that the elites are surprised that they have gone on for this long without that kind of uprising. I'm sure they sit down and say, what's wrong with these Nigerian people? Why haven't they come after us? And when they don't, they become emboldened. But in every society where ultimate revolutionary change has changed the conditioning of the mind of the oppressor, of the thieves, and those who don't let them make progress, what they are doing in Nigeria now is what they have always done. They get to a point where they are comfortable in their impunity, they take the people for granted, and one day, one small spark will just end it all for all of them. That's why I said, I hope they don't listen, and I hope they continue to be unconscious, unreasonable, and insensitive and irresponsible. We need it so that we can get to the final destination very fast.
Do you think the court of public opinion and the power of social media would help, get rid of godfatherism one way or the other?
Nigeria's problem is not godfatherism alone. Nigeria has a governance problem, of which godfatherism
but do you think social media and the court of public opinion?
We have election problems.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Do you think social media has played any role?
I understand you are asking, but
yes.
Of course, social media has become one of the most powerful tools for mobilization and engagement, and is not going anywhere anytime soon.
But is it enough? Is it enough to dismantle
we continue to see the hand, and social media will continue to help form coalitions, real coalitions of the oppressed. I have no doubt about it. My problem is how long people stay online as opposed to going offline to carry out the necessary action, to do the needful.
Okay.
That's what I have problem with social media. And social media have a way of also kind of demobilizing if you overdose on it. And that is why the Nigerian people must take their destinies in their own hand. As much as you might feel bad for one of the guys who has been headbutted in this bullfight, also don't forget that they don't stand for you.
Now that you say that.
Time, and because they'll get away with this, this is clean crime.
Okay, now that you say that, Sowore, let me still stick with you. Because speaking of the unfair hands that the Nigerian public is being dealt with, let's talk about movements. Movements like NSAS and the Obedient Wave showed public hunger for change. But why did this effort struggle to translate into lasting political power? Is it that the country is not ready for such a transformation? Or will it take generations to dismantle this entrenched system?
You see, when you are organizing for power, you cannot organize for power by doing what those people in power are doing. You cannot organize for power by presenting an alternative that is not substantial, that's just, without substance, that is superficial. NSAS was great, it was powerful response, but NSAS had a problem. It was not organized around people who understood how to fight and fight to the end. So those of us who started NSAS were shunted aside because, of course, I was at that time in Abuja, restricted to Abuja. And then others who were declaring victory before the fight was over was what led to what NSAS did. And then what followed, which you describe as the Obedient Wave, wasn't about capturing power. It was about one political group replacing the other. And you saw the outcome. Why? Because when the opportunity came for that movement to have headbutted the system, they all folded up.
No,
what is Godfather? What is God's son?
No,
is that what
it exists.
Is that what democracy is about?
But it exists. That's why we're discussing it. It exists. We cannot pretend that it doesn't. We all know the right ways to go about these things.
It may exist, but it's not acceptable.
It doesn't. Nobody's saying that it is. Nobody's saying that it is. I've never argued that it is.
I'm not here to act as a teddy bear for impunity. I'm not here to hug what is wrong and say, oh, because it exists. It might exist. That's their own problem.
Yeah, but
you cannot use it to truncate the aspirations of a people. You can't use it to suppress development. You can't use it to violate even your own constitution. I mean, their own constitution, because this is part of the problem. If there was a people's constitution in this country, there's no way you could have people who can just wake up and do what they like, and then we say, well, it's all right. They do it elsewhere.
But you have to understand.
Why don't we do things they do elsewhere, like constructing roads and funding education and building hospitals that we can go to?
We understand everything that you're saying. And we also,
and portable water.
We also know, do you believe these three sectors have been compromised? National Assembly, the executive.
They have been compromised, completely compromised. They have been completely compromised. There's no question about it. But I wanted to follow up on one of the things he said about those who fought for democracy. And that's why sometimes we should be careful about, what we fight against. Some of the people who were fighting for democracy in the 90s weren't actually fighting for democracy. They were fighting because they were jealous of what the military guys were doing, that they wish they were in that position. And now that they have gotten to the position that the military guys were in the 90s, you could tell what their interest was. It was to become as powerful as the military guys that they claimed they were fighting against. And if you look at their trajectory, their history, and the stories that came when they were in exile, they weren't fighting for democracy, they were doing business. Oh. That I have no sympathy for Sim Fubara. It was his own Sim that provided the network for the Wike to carry out the impunity he carried out, the corruption he carried out in Rivers State until he left to Abuja. So they are partners in crime. But that is to say
but there are those who would argue.
We do not endorse that. The Nigerian citizenship do not want governors who consolidate power, run to the Senate or run to the presidency, and then hold their state by the jugular. Don't forget that most of these former governors are already collecting, very, very crazy pension. Some of them have houses built for them. They're entitled to almost twice whatever privileges they were enjoying when they are governors. What do they want from Nigeria? Why do they want to hold Nigeria in total stranglehold? Is what we are faced with, and that is what we should be discussing. Not to think about what is their taste for ice cream or kunu or suya.
No, but let me throw a question.
We're talking about Nigeria.
I know. Sorry. Finish your sentence before I throw in my question.
So I'm not here to discuss what a governor prefers or not. What went wrong with NSAS was that
there was no leadership.
The NSAS leaders of course there was leadership, but they were lying that they don't want leaders. But they were having conversation with Tony Elumelu, Dangote on Zoom. They know themselves, and the ones that raised money were not allowing the money to reach the people who were really fighting the war for the fight.
Okay.
Up to today, there are over 500,000 cryptocurrency monies that disappeared. The people who were involved in NSAS, who raised money for legal support, disappeared after NSAS. Up until last year, we were still getting people out of Ikoyi prison and other prisons in Lagos who were detained for NSAS. Ask yourself, where is feminist.co that raised all the money and said that, we are in charge now, we don't want anybody else. The moment it happened, what happened to them? Why did they pack up? That is not how social movements are organized. So that's why I'm telling you that they knew what they did, and one day the truth will come out. But beyond that, the moment they were done with NSAS, they went and used NSAS progress or NSAS gains into a political movement that took them nowhere. And it was because of greed or naivety or inexperience. Or, I don't know what it could have been, that you have an NSAS movement, it had that great opportunity, and you went and chose for the movement a person to gain from the movement who was part of SARS when he was governor. What kind of intuitiveness is that? It was just counter-revolutionary positioning that ended NSAS tragically. But that story will be told at another time, but we know what happened.
So
and
let's
those
have...
people who did it knew themselves.
Okay.
These three individuals have been former governors of Nigeria's most lucrative states. I'm talking about Rivers, Lagos, and Akwa Ibom. And what they want to do, this is all about resources, and they want to hijack and control these states and control the entire country, silence everybody who might want to have a difference of opinion, and then just move on to consolidate their total control. In some cases, and you will see more of these, criminal control of the Nigerian political and social and economic space. This is referred to as state capture. That is what you are saying.
But do you think that's the ultimate aim?
About 3 weeks ago.
Do you think that's the ultimate aim for most governors?
He did it in Lagos. The speaker was...
No, for most governors generally.
The speaker was removed.
Do you think that's the ultimate aim for most governors
every governor.
generally? No, for most governors wanted to control their...
I'm not in any way... I'm not in any way endorsing any of these governors. I have stated elsewhere, and I'll restate here, that I have no sympathy for Sim Fubara. It was his own Sim that provided the network for the Wike to carry out the impunity he carried out, the corruption he carried out in Rivers State until he left to Abuja. So they are partners in crime. But that is to say that we do not endorse that. The Nigerian citizenship do not want governors who consolidate power, run to the Senate or run to the presidency, and then hold their state by the jugular.
Dear friend, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this wonderful video, I need you to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss my subsequent videos. One more thing, go to the comment section, let me know your feel about this video, and finally share this video with whoever you think might find it interesting. Once again, thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.